Welcome back to Headz Up SA, where we unpack the madness behind South Africa's loudest headlines. Today, it's not just politics, it's sorcery, scandals, and straight-up character assassinations. Let's get into it. Imagine being a spokesperson and having to go live on national TV just to defend witchcraft accusations. That's exactly what MK Party spokesperson Nhlamulo Ndhlela had to deal with when he sat down with Clement Manyathela on SABC's Face the Nation. Nhlamulo was grilled on the latest drama sparked by none other than Floyd Shivambu, the former MK Party Secretary General who's been doing a full-blown media tour, taking shots at the party and its members, including Nhlamulo and Jacob Zuma. So what did Nhlamulo have to say? First, he said Floyd is still a member of the MK Party, but yes, he violated the party's constitution, which he drafted himself. Still, MK says they are a disciplined organization and Floyd must face internal processes, not a rushed expulsion.
No, the gentleman in question is still a member, and nothing has changed pertaining to that, and we're having internal discussions and reviewing the situation.
So he's not going to be expelled by the organization? Well, let me ask it this way. What does your constitution say about someone who behaves in the manner that he's behaved, or someone who announces plans to form a new party? Does that not violate the MK Party's constitution?
Well, look, there's been a number of transgressions on the constitution. By the way, the same constitution that was drafted by the person in question, Floyd Shivambu. And in many of the prescripts of the Constitution, it states, that, for instance, you are on probation for 24 months, you cannot form another political party, and there's a number of other things that point to some of those transgressions, including, by the way, one of those that led to, him being removed from his seat and redeployed elsewhere. So, yes, there have been transgressions in the Constitution, but what we're doing internally is that we're not people in leadership that take rash decisions. We apply our minds, and we need to understand what is this thing that he's coming up with. I mean, he's a member of Umkhonto weSizwe, and to account, to a great extent, he has to account to us as the leaders of Umkhonto weSizwe. I mean, he's an ordinary member. He's wanted to go and set up this initiative. What is this initiative? If we're talking about Umkhonto weSizwe being the platform that ought to unify black people, what is this consultative process that he's undergoing? So we want to see what he's obviously going to say on Friday. We are tracking, his activities, his interviews, and we'll make a determination with the guidance of the leadership and the president.
Okay, so
Floyd says Nhlamulo is the one who handed in the so-called fake intelligence report that got him booted as a Secretary General. But Nhlamulo clapped back, saying he never even saw the report because he's not part of the intelligence team.
Does this claim come from that he tried to topple the president and he wanted to take over the MK Party? In fact, one of the things he said was that someone went and gave an intelligence report about him to President Jacob Zuma, which was riddled with lies. I think he said you are the one that gave the president.
Yes, he said me, yeah.
Yeah. Did you give the president an intelligence report of sort about him?
Firstly, I'm not part of the intelligence advisory to the president. So where would I conjure up an intelligence report in the first place? And who am I to, advise the president, a person who himself, whose DNA is, formed of the back of intelligence, who am I to advise the president on intelligence? Here's the reality and the truth. There was no intelligence report. Those were transcripts of communication that he had with people that he knows whom he had those conversations with, which implicated him, and which were very disparaging to some of the members, and which were dangerous in their own nature to the organization.
So you were speaking bad about some of the leaders and members of the MK Party?
There was discussions around plans, and discussions that were very concerning.
Plans to do what?
Well, if you look at this, there's one thing I've also observed, is that, when people come into an organization, especially Umkhonto weSizwe, and I've repeated this a number of times, people tend to underestimate that in Umkhonto weSizwe you can't just do as you please. This is not a free-for-all organization where you think you can come and try and pull your weight and be arrogant.
And just when you thought it couldn't get wilder, let's talk about witchcraft. Yes, witchcraft. Witchcraft. Floyd claimed the intelligence report accused him of trying to gain supernatural powers to take over the MK party. Nhlamulo confirmed, yes, it's a thing. Look, Hogwarts couldn't have scripted this better.
Some of the transcripts and the feedback was that, yes, he had taken Dudu's hat and, they were aimed to bewitch her and this is what is obviously also circulated. And this is what it is, and that, he will then deal with that woman who's directionless.
Is this part of
and
what
this
was in the
conversation
report?
with an individual in Malawi, and that he would then ensure that when the old man passes on, he takes over the party. So these are some of the conversations that are happening and that are taking place. It's a lot. And that's why you realize that to a great extent we've been quiet in terms of what has transpired. Because sometimes it's important to know when to communicate and when not to communicate.
Some of the things you're sharing are quite unbelievable.
Floyd also accused Nhlamulo of being a drunk and a drug abuser. Nhlamulo denies this hard, saying he's taken a drug test and his lawyers have issued a letter of demand for a public apology.
Challenging that in any way?
Well, it's said that a person who wants to lead a party will resort to such disparaging comments and character assassinate me. I've never had any issues with him. But the reality is I've got a whole lot more a whole lot more intelligence emotionally than him. I'm leaps and bounds with, when it comes to even thought level and strategy when it comes to him. And that's a fact. I've sat with him. But I take nothing from him because I've learnt from him as well in terms of, organizational structures and so on and so forth. So he's had some good input to the party. We can't take that away. But let's not allow a situation where a person is now going to have delusions of grandeur and an overextended ego and think that they are the superior authority of intellect over everyone else. As you heard him say, he said he had qualitative, experience and intelligence compared to all national officials put together. That includes the president. So he's saying that he's smarter than the president. Well, here's the reality. I don't take drugs. I've actually been taken them on, and I've gone to the point, in actual fact, where, funny enough, and here's what's also interesting. This week is Drug and Alcohol Awareness Week, right, from the 22nd to the 27th. So as part of the initiative, I said, oh, well, this is actually interesting that this actually coincides with that. I've gone and actually done a drug test. And it's important that we bring this issue, we surface issues of, abuse of drugs, abuse of alcohol to the public. And as a leader, I think I must lead from the front and do those kind of things. And take advantage of the fact that, by the way, funny enough, here it is. Here's a gentleman who goes and makes such disparaging character assassination comments about me. Let's actually surface these issues because these are societal problems. So I will be sharing that with you. I'll share my drug test with you. I've already printed and scanned and tweeted my letter to him, which is a letter of demand. I expect him to apologize. I am not in any fighting spirit with him. I'm a leader from Konto Sizwe with the emotional intelligence to lead. And that's what I need to do.
Let me ask about what he said about Morocco.
Clement Manyathela wasn't holding back either. He says Floyd's emotional, identity confused, and trying to find his voice way too late. Quoting Clement, there is only one Malema, only one Jacob Zuma.
His credibility is almost in tatters. He seems like he's emotional. He seems like he doesn't have strategy at all. And as I've said, again, I have no problem with Floyd Shivambu. I do think that he's a smart person. I think he really understands politics, but I don't think he's got a political identity. I think he was always a Floyd of the EFF, a Floyd who is the deputy of Julius Malema. And it's almost like he's trying to redefine himself now to be this radical person. But that is there can only be one Julius Malema, whatever you do. And I feel like it's too late for you to also try and redefine your political identity now. Julius Malema didn't start being Julius now. He was always this man who's a straight shooter, who causes problems for even his colleagues because he speaks his mind from the day when he was in the ANC Youth League. Jacob Zuma has always been a charmer. When you read books about exile, you get a sense of this is the man who's always been. So they don't just start in their 80s, in their 40s, 50s to somehow solidify a political identity. And for you to be a strong, influential politician, that work begins a long time ago. And I think he's all over the place now. I mean, listen to what he said. And that's the thing about him as well, right? First of all, it was what he said about Jacob Zuma, right? Remember, I've played you clips because I always like reminding you of how flip-floppers politicians are. So trust them at your own peril. He said nasty things about Jacob Zuma. And then what did he come back and say? Oh, we were misled. As if he was a little boy who's 8 years old and didn't have a brain. And he didn't think for himself because he took whatever was given to him. Please, we're not children. Now he's coming out to say cult personalities in the EFF. And yet, when he was constantly asked about the level of democracy in that party, he's always defended it. So when does he take accountability? He says, yeah, we didn't leave a party, we left cult politics. But when do you take accountability as an adult for having been involved in the personalities of cult, even within that organization for so many years? And he doesn't take accountability for anything. Yeah, now he's always misled. I worry that he's going to destroy his political career because it seems so directionless, so emotional. I don't know what he's working at. And hey, who knows? Maybe he's working on something that's somehow going to produce a political party that will be effective. But is it going to be a strong player in politics? I don't know. He put up a poll just the other day, was it yesterday? Asking people, do you think we need a party? Do you think we don't need a party? And when he saw that a lot of people were saying we don't need a new party, he went and deleted that poll. Where's the strategy there?
Even ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula had something to say. Floyd is in a heavy accident, he said, referring to his chaotic fall from the EFF and MK party. Mbalula says Floyd has never had direction, and you know what? He might have a point.
No, Floyd doesn't have any record of giving direction to anything. So we just take that as, slanderous remarks coming from a failed politician. But we wish him luck in whatever that he wishes to achieve. The ANC has got a guiding document that is reviewed from time to time, including the current implications of the moment we are in, of the GNU, to shape up the direction at all material times. So we don't do things because we are in accidents. So Floyd is in accident, and that accident looks like is a huge accident that he has come across. So when you are in an accident, you've got to go and fix the car, or you might as well be affected mentally and otherwise, because the accident was not just a head-on collision, it was heavy. And we understand that he is in a heavy accident. It's unbelievable that you can be in a party less than a year and then you get chucked out from being promoted, to the highest position, and you craft constitutions and people then just leave you and then deal with you in that way. So it must be understood that when you are faced with an accident, it's a horrible experience. So that's what is going through.
Do you believe Floyd when he says Zuma wanted him to be MK party president? What do you think Nhlamulo would say about that? Cap or fact? And is Mbalula right? Has Floyd Shivambu never had political direction? Look, one thing is clear. This ain't a political beef. It's personal, it's spiritual, and it's messy. Floyd might be trying to reinvent himself, but South Africa isn't buying every story. From cult accusation to civil organizations calling him out for stealing their name, Floyd got a storm to answer to.
Floyd Shivambu is tainted from as far back as the VBS saga. The man is tainted by his unceremonious departure from the EFF. He is tainted by the most recent shenanigans that happened around him during his time as Secretary General of the MK. And it is for these reasons that we, Maibuye, do not want to be associated with the man.
Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you think this drama needs its own Netflix documentary. And don't forget to subscribe to Headz Up SA for the latest breakdowns in Mzansi politics. Keep your heads up, SA.